Is a sword more dangerous than a nuclear bomb? That sounds ridiculous. It sounds wrong. But here's the thing. The atomic bomb has killed approximately 200,000 people. The sword has been killing people continuously for 5,000 years. Do the math. That's the framework for this video. Not most impressive, not most advanced, most dangerous, measured in actual human cost across all of recorded history. Some of these answers are going to bother you. Good. They should. War Chariot, 1700 BC. Let's start where organized warfare starts. Not with swords, not with spears, with wheels. The war chariot first appeared somewhere in the Eurasian steppes around 2000 BC, but it became a true weapon of war under the Hittites and Egyptians around 1700 BC. And what it did was simple. It introduced something to the battlefield that had never existed before: speed. Before the chariot, battles were decided by two masses of infantry walking toward each other until someone broke. The side with more men usually won. The side with better position sometimes won. But the chariot ignored all of that. Two horses, two wheels, an archer and a driver, smashing into the flank of an infantry line at 30 miles an hour. At Kadesh in 1274 BC, the largest chariot battle in history, the Egyptians and Hittites put over 5,000 chariots on the same field. The noise alone broke formations before a single arrow landed. The chariot ruled for over 1,000 years. No modern weapons platform has come close to that lifespan. It was eventually replaced, not by a better vehicle, but by the realization that you could just put a soldier directly on the horse. Cavalry was faster, cheaper, and didn't need flat terrain, so the chariot disappeared. But it left behind an idea that never did, that speed, shock, and mobility could win battles that numbers alone couldn't. Every tank, every cavalry charge, every armored vehicle that came after it was built on that same idea. Greek fire, 7th century AD. Jump forward about 2,700 years. The Roman Empire has fallen. The Byzantine Empire, Rome's eastern half, is holding on, surrounded by enemies on every side. And they have a secret: Greek fire, a liquid incendiary weapon deployed from bronze tubes mounted on ships. Essentially a flamethrower, but the liquid it sprayed burned on water. Not just on water, it intensified on water. Pouring water on Greek fire made it worse. Byzantine ships would close with enemy fleets, open the tubes, and spray. Sailors who jumped overboard to escape the flames burned in the sea. In 678 AD and again in 718 AD, two of the largest Arab fleets ever assembled sailed against Constantinople. Both were destroyed so completely that contemporaries describe the sea itself as being on fire. Historians argue those two battles saved Europe, that without Greek fire, the Arab expansion west would have faced no meaningful naval resistance. The formula was so secret that Byzantine emperors shared it only within the immediate family. When Constantinople finally fell in 1453, the formula died with it. We have never fully replicated it. We have theories, we have guesses. But whatever it was, it worked, and then it was gone. English longbow, 1300s. The chariot taught armies that speed beats mass. Greek fire taught navies that the right weapon makes numbers irrelevant. The longbow taught the entire medieval world that the armor protecting you was the thing that would kill you. For centuries, the logic was simple: more armor equals more safety. Knights spent fortunes on plate armor precisely because it worked. An arrow from a standard bow bounced off it. A sword glanced off it. The longbow changed the physics of that equation. A trained English longbowman fired 12 arrows per minute. At close range, a bodkin-tipped arrow punched clean through plate armor. The knight who was supposed to be invulnerable became the slowest, most expensive target on the battlefield. At Agincourt in 1415, 5,000 English archers, 36,000 French knights and infantry, 60,000 arrows in the air simultaneously. The French lost up to 10,000 men. The English lost fewer than 500. But the deeper revolution was social, not military. You didn't need to be a nobleman to use a longbow. You just needed 10 years of practice and enough strength to draw it. England made longbow training compulsory for peasant boys, every Sunday, required by law. That created an army of common men who could kill the most armored noblemen in Europe from 300 yards away. The longbow didn't just win battles, It broke the logic that said expensive armor and noble blood won wars. The cannon, 1300s. If the longbow ended the knight, the cannon ended the castle. For over 1,000 years, the castle was the ultimate defensive technology. Stone walls 20 feet thick, 40 feet high, a moat, a drawbridge, a commanding position on high ground. You could not knock it down with anything that existed. You could starve it out, but that took years. You could tunnel under it, but that was slow and dangerous. The castle made geography into armor. If you held the right hill with the right walls, you were essentially unbeatable. Then the cannon arrived. Gunpowder from China, metal barrels from European foundries, stone and iron balls heavy enough to crack anything. In 1453, Mehmed II brought 68 cannons to Constantinople. The largest fired stone balls weighing 600 pounds. The walls of Constantinople had stood for 1,000 years. They had never been breached by direct assault. They came down in 55 days. The Eastern Roman Empire, the last surviving remnant of Rome, fell to a weapon, not an army. And the ripple effects didn't stop there. Every castle in Europe suddenly needed to be rethought. Centuries of investment in stone fortifications, obsolete almost overnight. Naval warfare changed too. Cannons on ships turned sea battles from ramming and boarding into long-range artillery duels. And the nations that mastered cannon manufacturing used them to project military power across every ocean on Earth. The age of empires was built on cannon foundries. The rifle, 1800s. The cannon gave armies the ability to hit things far away. The rifle gave individual soldiers the same ability. Before the rifle, a musket was accurate to about 50 yards. After that, mostly luck. This is why Napoleonic battles still looked almost medieval. Two lines of soldiers walking toward each other, waiting until they were close enough to actually hit something, then firing massed volleys, then charging. Rifling, spiral grooves cut into the barrel, made the bullet spin as it left the barrel. That spin stabilized it in flight. Accurate range jumped from 50 yards to 300 yards. You could now kill someone before they ever got close to you. The American Civil War was the first major conflict fought primarily with rifles. The generals had learned tactics in the Napoleonic era. They hadn't caught up to the weapons. At Pickett's charge in 1863, 12,500 Confederate soldiers marched in formation across open ground toward Union rifle lines at Gettysburg. The Union soldiers didn't wait for them to get close. They started shooting at 300 yards. In less than an hour, over 6,000 Confederate soldiers were dead or wounded. The rifle made the open battlefield a killing ground. It made the frontal assault almost suicidal. And it made digging into the earth, trench warfare, not a tactic of last resort, but the only logical response. Every trench of World War I, every bunker, every fortified position of the 20th century exists because of the rifle. The machine gun, 1880s. The rifle made it dangerous to stand in the open. The machine gun made it impossible. The Maxim gun, 1884, 600 rounds per minute, sustained, automatic, continuous. One machine gun nest could hold a position against hundreds of men. The military math that had governed warfare for centuries, more soldiers equals more firepower equals victory, stopped working entirely. Both sides of World War I had machine guns. Both sides dug into the ground. The result was 400 miles of trenches across France and Belgium that neither side could cross. July 1st, 1916. The Somme. British soldiers climbed out of their trenches and walked. They were ordered to walk across no man's land toward German positions. The machine guns had a range of 2,000 yards. The British had 200 yards to cross. 57,470 casualties before sunset. The machine gun didn't just kill people. It exposed a generation of military leadership that was still thinking in the language of the previous century. The weapons had moved forward. The thinking hadn't. That gap between what weapons could do and what commanders understood cost 20 million lives in 4 years. The tank, 1916. The machine gun created a problem that seemed unsolvable. You couldn't charge. Machine guns cut you down. You couldn't go around. The trenches stretched for 400 miles. For 2 years, millions of men died failing to solve it. The answer was armor. Moving armor. The British Mark I tank. September 15, 1916. Slow, unreliable, suffocating inside. Heat, fumes, noise, total disorientation. But it crossed no man's land. It crushed barbed wire. It drove over trenches. And machine gun fire bounced off it. German infantry who had held their positions against every human wave broke and ran when they saw it. The tank didn't end World War I. Commanders like Guderian and Patton had understood what the tank could really do. Fast, concentrated armor. Don't attack the strong points, go around them. Cut the supply lines. Collapse the structure from inside. Poland, 27 days. France, 46 days. Armies that had prepared for years of defensive warfare were destroyed in weeks. The tank gave back to warfare what the machine gun had taken away: movement. The submarine, 1914. Every weapon so far killed soldiers. The submarine was built to kill nations. Not their armies, their economies, their food supply, their fuel, their will. In World War I, German U-boats sank nearly 5,000 Allied ships. In 6 months of 1917, they sank enough tonnage that British military planners calculated Britain had 6 weeks of food remaining. 6 weeks from surrender. Not from losing a battle, but from running out of food. In World War II, the campaign lasted 6 years without pause. 3,500 Allied ships sunk. 14.5 million tons. 72,000 sailors killed. And in the Pacific, American submarines reversed the equation against Japan. By 1945, American subs had sunk 55% of all Japanese merchant shipping. Japan was running out of everything: oil, food, steel, rubber. The submarine forced every major power to accept that controlling the surface of the ocean was no longer enough. You had to control what was underneath it. Today, nuclear-armed submarines patrol the world's oceans continuously, invisible, silent, capable of destroying continents from beneath the water. The submarine turned the ocean from a highway into a weapon. The atomic bomb, 1945. August 6, 1945, 8:15 in the morning. One plane, one bomb, one city. In the first second, a fireball hotter than the surface of the sun vaporized everything within half a mile. In the next few seconds, a shockwave flattened 5 square miles of Hiroshima. By the end of the morning, 70,000 to 80,000 dead. By the end of the year, over 140,000. 3 days later, Nagasaki. Another 80,000 dead before the year was out. Japan surrendered 9 days after that. But the atomic bomb's true impact isn't measured in those numbers. It's measured in everything that didn't happen afterward. The United States and the Soviet Union spent 45 years in a state of near constant hostility. Proxy wars, arms races, ideological confrontation on every continent. They never fought directly, because both sides knew that any nuclear exchange ended not just the war, but both nations, possibly civilization itself. The bomb created a world where the most powerful countries on Earth could not go to war with each other. That had never happened before in human history. Every prior period of great power rivalry ended in great power war. This one didn't. And the reason, the only reason, is a single weapon that was used twice in 3 days and has never been used since. The sword, 3000 BC. So, is a sword more dangerous than a nuclear bomb? The atomic bomb has killed approximately 200,000 people across 2 cities across 3 days in 1945. The sword has been in continuous military use for 5,000 years. The earliest bronze blades date to 3000 BC in ancient Mesopotamia. The last major cavalry sabers were used in the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. 5 millennia. Every civilization, every continent, every war ever fought in human history had soldiers using a sword somewhere in it. The Roman legions built the largest empire the Western world had ever seen with the gladius, a short, double-edged blade designed for close quarters. Not to slash, to thrust. Get inside the enemy's reach and push the blade in. 40 modern countries conquered with that technique. The Japanese katana gave birth to the samurai, and the samurai defined Japanese culture, politics, religion, and society for 700 years. A weapon gave rise to an entire civilization's identity. The sword was also the first weapon that required years of individualized mastery. Hand a peasant a spear, and he's useful in a day. A swordsman took years. That created something no other weapon ever had. Entire social classes built around mastery of a single weapon. Knights, samurai, gladiators. Their rank, their honor, their entire reason for existing was the sword. And here's what separates the sword from everything else on this list. The chariot is gone. Greek fire is lost. The longbow is a museum piece. The cannon evolved into artillery. The rifle evolved into assault weapons. The machine gun still exists, but has been superseded. The sword? Generals still wear them at ceremonies. Military academies still teach the forms. Officers are still commissioned with a blade at their side. The sword is the universal human symbol of military power and authority. Not the gun, not the bomb. The sword. 5,000 years. And it isn't finished yet.